My husband sank some more posts for me for trellising tomatoes. There's a manly sound from the background from my husband. So I'm just going to go through, reset some of these strings. He set a post in the middle here. We did one on either end just to get them trellised, but they need a little more support, so we've got one in the middle here. I'm going to tie these up. I'm going to tie those up. I'm going to tie those up, and I'm going to tie those up over there. I don't know how people do like 90, 100 tomato plants, because I've got 24, and it takes some time to take care of them. But I'm going to reset this, tie them up, and prune. I'm going to reset I'm just going to tie those up. I'm going to tie those up, and then I'm going to tie those up and prune everything. And I've got some compost to turn. Thanks for joining me. that's touching the ground, I trim off, and then any of the suckers I trim off. Some of them, I have a pile there, but some of them look pretty substantial. They look like I shouldn't be trimming them off. But if you compare the branch that I leave versus the branch that I take off, there's lots more blossoms going this way than this way, and the one that I take off is the one that is just taking away from the plant and taking away from the tomatoes. Okay. As I was pruning, I was just throwing my tomato leaves over here in a pile because I'm going to take them out of the garden. And I wanted to show you, let's see, can you see these guys right here? Looks like I've got some aphids. I can take those off with Scotch tape. I can just do this. Or I can just let nature take its course and hope some ladybugs come to eat them. Have a few more to tie up. I'm going to start at this end. If and when I have a garden that gives me the space and the amount of land that I wish, I'm going to have huge walkways that allow me to sit without possibly breaking the plants behind me someday. Come over here for a minute. This plant that I'm working on is a Roma. I'm 99% sure. Roma is a determinate tomato plant. Determinate amount of height, determinate amount of blossoms, determinate amount of fruit. So you don't prune as heavily as you could an indeterminate. Now, if you choose not to prune, you're not doing anything wrong. You are choosing to use a different method. So one thing, oops, besides squashing the bean plant, that's right beside this one. One thing I want to do is I want to trim the branches up to the first set of blossoms. And I'll show you why. Actually, I'm just going to break this one off. We've got some brown spots on that one. That's one that's coming in contact with the ground. We definitely want to remove that, and we want to cut that off, remove it from the garden without having contact with a lot of other plants. So I'm going to remove some of these branches on this Roma plant. I'd show you. There's not enough room in here. Just giving it a little more airflow at the bottom. I'll turn you around and let you see. So I just remove, let me see, you can see the little, like here, here, and here is where I removed. And then I'm just going to tie this to this T-post that's beside it to provide a little bit of support. The plants that I typically choose are indeterminate tomato plants. All my other tomato plants are indeterminate. But the aromas, I was just trying this year to see. It's been a long time since I've grown them, so I wanted to see what I thought of them this year. So I just have two to tie up, the Roma that I just showed you, and a Brandywine or German pink. Anybody out there that happens to be able to look at a German pink or Brandywine tomato plant and be like, oh, that one's a Brandywine, that's a German pink, please let me know, because I can't tell the difference. So we're going to tie these last two up, and then I've got two more to tie up over at the other end of the garden. And then I also have the wagon of guilty plants, the ones that I haven't planted or given away that I would like to find a home for. Side note, I'm sitting here next to some onions, pretty much onions or garlic. If you want it to put energy into the bulb, you don't want it to have a blossom on it. So this is a bud that would turn into a flower. I just popped this off while I was talking to you. There we go. So what I typically do is I just take a piece of string and fold it in half. I've always found it's easier to have too much string than not enough. I can cut some off or leave it to hang. If I cut it too short, it's much more difficult to complete the task. So, can you see? Yeah. Just going to loop it over here, pull the end through, and then I'm going to come around to the other side and do, anybody that has horses, a quick release knot. Okay. My husband's done mowing, so we stopped. We don't have that in the background anymore to fight with. I have... What? Oh, okay. Electric fence is back on. Our electric goes around the outside of our permanent chicken run and around the outside of the garden. It does appear, knock on wood, to deter those that want to eat our chickens and those that want to eat our plants. I don't know that we would have quite as much success as we've had without having an electric fence. But anyway, I digress. I have two tomato plants to tie up. These I just have Luke sunk a couple 7-foot T-posts for me, and I'm just going to tie them up the T-posts and prune them. These are, again, just Brandywine or German pink. Again, if anybody can tell me the difference from looking at the plant, feel free to let me know. Now, here, let me actually point out, I think I may have done this in another video segment that I haven't edited, so who knows if it's going to make it. But I'm going to turn you around. So, right here, we've got a Y, and it's kind of hard to tell which one is the top of the plant and which one is the sucker. If you follow up to the one, let me get over here, that has the first set of blossoms, which is this guy on this side, this is the top of the plant. This one right here is the sucker. This is the one that's going to get cut off. So, just taking some string here, looping around here, and coming back to So, as I mentioned, this guy right here is the one that's coming off. That looks like a significant amount of plant, but there's not even, there's just some baby buds that are thinking about opening there. Where if you look at this side, we've got a set of buds here, a set of buds here, we've got a set of buds here that is far more advanced than anything on here. This is one of those that you could put in a pot of soil, you could put in a cup of water. These little hairs would develop some roots and you'd have a pretty developed plant if you or your neighbors need more tomato plants. I do not need any more tomato plants. I have 5 that are sitting in pots waiting to be planted. So that one doesn't get to stay. Now I'm also going to trim anything that has contact with the ground. Just these guys right here. Airflow's the big thing. We want lots of airflow and fresh air moving around the leaves so we don't end up with any fungus or disease on the plants. So that's all I'm doing with that one. I have found it's not a bad idea when I'm sitting here with a spool of string and a pair of nippers to just go up about every 6 inches on this post and just put a piece of string. Because a lot of times when it's time to tie them up, either you don't have time or you don't have the stuff sitting there right there with you. So not a bad idea. Of course, I'm not following that right now because I have other things I want to do.